So this is again funneling into the purpose section of this. So what I've discovered in that room prior to is like I didn't have really a structure or strategy behind the social media. It was more or less just you post something and then you kind of go on and you scroll and if something, if somebody messages you or if it happens, right? It's more organic than anything. But this structure is what I found really kind of helps get micro again, going from macro to micro into a certain marketplace or area. So essentially what you want to be thinking about is when you do create a post, whether it's a reel or whatever, say for example, you've got a just listed home in a certain marketplace, right? So maybe you've got a bigger city, you've got a tiny little community just outside of that city where you've got a new listing, right? So you go ahead, you create your post, you post it. What you want to do is you want to spend 15 minutes essentially. So you want to take 60 minutes of intentional time on your social media after that post. Take 15 minutes to do geotagging. So, and then 15 minutes for local business engagement, 15 minutes for story interaction, 15 minutes for feed engagement. So you basically break it down. And then, like I said, it's that hour period where you're just hyper focused on what do I need to do next? And essentially what you're kind of doing is you're just stamping your profile in all of these different areas to try to drive more traffic back to your page essentially, right? So let's circle back to that listing that you just posted in that smaller town just outside of the city. Maybe in that specific area they're known for hiking, or
Mm,
maybe it's cycling or something like that, right? That there's good trails, hiking, walking trails, or biking trails. That's something that you can kind of hone into, right? So the geotag you can put on your post, and you can circle through there to find that area. People are going to be posting all kinds of stuff, obviously, that's in that specific area. So you want to go in and start liking and commenting thoughtfully on those posts that are already happening in that spot. And then also, too, for example, like, you know, if that area like Instagram now, I know in Facebook, they let you search. So the geotag, you can just physically search for it now, and you can actually funnel through reels, you can funnel through accounts, you can funnel through different areas. So you can kind of go in and you can do almost like I don't want to say a tag search because it's not so popular anymore, but you can kind of get hyper local for that specific thing and then go ahead and drive traffic. So if somebody posted, say for example, or is in that area, for example, and they posted something that's similar to what you just posted, they're going to actually be able to funnel through. If you like their photo, it'll bring you to their page. Like you'll pop up in their notifications, for example, to bring them in, which is awesome. The next one is business engagement. So I like this one because if, say, for example, that small town has a coffee shop, for example, odds are pretty good that a lot of local people in that area are going to follow that page, right? So they want to see if there's any upcoming events or if they're doing sales or stuff like that. But like the more people that are in that local community are more than likely going to follow that page, which is awesome. So you can go in there. You obviously want to follow that page as well, so you can see when they make posts. You want to like those posts, but for this section, you want to be going into their followers. So the people that are following that business page. And then actually what I do is I go in and I physically click through the profiles, right? And you tend to
yeah.
find people that are, like I said, active in the community in that area and their profiles are open. You go and you like one of their photos. What this does is it sends them a notification and essentially brings them their attention to your page, right? And you've just made a post in their marketplace or about a listing in their area. So it's pretty interesting, right? Like if that person maybe knows a relative or a cousin or a friend that's looking to get into the area, they're not always actively looking on the MLS. Not everybody does, right? Not everybody's constantly on there, but they go to your profile and now they see that you've just posted a just listed house in their area. So what do? They look at the photos or the video of it. Maybe they share your post to their friend that they're thinking of that wants to move into the area, right? So this is just sort of
Yeah.
trying to get really tight knit into the community, and you're doing it through, you're almost finding these people through obviously like the business engagement or the geotagging. So these are 4 50-minute or 2 50-minute increments that you would use. The next two is going to be with regards to story interaction and then feed engagement. So the story interaction is pretty interesting. If you go onto your Instagram, for example, what you're going to notice is you're going to see all these bubbles at the very top of your homepage. And you're going to look through the first like maybe 10 or 15, all very familiar faces. You've probably just seen their posts or you saw their stories yesterday. You very commonly see the first dozen or so very often. What you want to do is you actually want to spend 50 minutes. You want to go all the way back. So you go all the way to the right as far as you can until the bubbles aren't lit anymore. And essentially what will happen is the stories that you've watched, those people will get funneled to the back. But the people that still have a lit up funnel that are at the very back, they've completely fallen off your algorithm. So essentially what's happened with those people, you just posted that listing, but they're not going to see it on their feed, right? Their bubble's too small. You're way out of the way. But how you can kind of get back into their worlds is essentially going into their story, and Instagram lets you like their story. So you could physically just like it, or maybe they posted a thoughtful quote that meant something to them, right? So, if they posted a thoughtful quote, you could look at the quote. Maybe it means something to you. You could send them a direct message. Just say, hey, this is so amazing. Thanks for sharing. Now, this is going to bring your profiles and connect them again, right? You've sent them a direct message, or ultimately, if you just liked it, what's going to happen is it's going to go to the notification center, and odds are pretty good. They're going to say, oh, I haven't seen that person in a while. They're going to click your profile, and then it'll bring them into your page, onto your page where you've just posted, and then they go in and check it. You're just listed. So it's a good way to kind of bring your old followers or your new followers or your followers back into your world. And then again, same with the feed engagement. And this is as simple as just kind of going into your feed. Again, 15 minutes, right? You don't want to be doom scrolling forever, but the important part is to have intention behind what you're doing. And now what I noticed, I don't know if this is the same for TikTok and Facebook, but for Instagram, if you click on the Instagram icon, it'll actually let you change your feed to your followers or your favorites. So what I do is I just change that to my followers, because sometimes you get a lot of like sponsored ads that come into your main feed, or people that you don't really even follow. It just happens that way. So if you click that, you bring it into your followers. What it does is it sorts everybody out who's just posted. So if you click it, you're going to see a post from 20 seconds ago from somebody that you follow that maybe fell off your algorithm too. You haven't seen them in a while. But the interesting thing here is all these people that have just posted are probably still on their phone. So you can go ahead and start liking and thoughtfully commenting. You're going to pop up. You're going to be one of the first likes on their photos, one of the first comments. Odds are pretty good. If they're still on their phone, they're going to click your profile, head over to your page. They're going to see you're just posted. They may like it too, but the whole point of all of this is to drive more traffic to your page and get essentially the platform to think that there's a lot of engagement happening here, which will help obviously drive out your post. But what I really liked about this whole theory is the fact that you can get really hyper local with the area that you're trying to target. And it's usually within your own marketplace. Like, the just listed video, for example, is a great example of that, because you want to essentially try to find people who are going to be in that area to see your post, who will eventually want to do business with you.